Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to install and configure a Next.js starter templates. I'm going to show you all the process you need to follow to configure all of the integrations. So the Next.js starter templates has NextAuth, Sanity for blog and Stripe for payment gateway, and also we got content layer for the docs. So let's get started. So I'm going to use the startup template in this tutorial. I've already downloaded it and opened it up in my code editor. If you haven't done that, go ahead and do that. So now I'm going to close this and install all the dependencies and open up the template in our local server. So let's go to the terminal. npm install. It will take a few seconds. So the installation is done. Now we're going to start the dev server. npm run dev. So it's compiling and it's showing an error because our homepage includes a blog section which is from Sanity. We have to integrate Sanity to make this section work. It's the live version of the template. So now let's go ahead and integrate Sanity. To integrate Sanity, first of all we have to go to Sanity.io and then we have to create a new project. So you can create a new project by clicking on this start building button, and then you have to click on this. It's creating a project. From here you have to choose the options. What are you building? So we are building a blog, then we are using TypeScript and Next.js, and our CMS is Sanity, and click continue. Now we can close because we are not going to create a new project with Sanity. So let's close it, and now we have to log in. Click on this login button. If you don't have an account, you will be asked to log in first. This is the project we just created. Click on this. Here we got the project ID and the title. In this dataset section we got the dataset. So we'll have to get all this data and add them to the config file. So let's go to the documentation and see where we'll have to add those. Sanity. So we just created the project. So now we have to add the project ID to the env file. Open up the code editor and let's create a env file. So the env file already exists. I'm just going to copy the project ID and paste that to the env file. This is the project ID. Ctrl V. Let's go to the docs. Now we have to open up the sanity.config.ts file. In that file we'll have to add the title, project ID and the dataset. sanity.config.ts. So here we are going to replace this one with our project ID, and the dataset is production. Also the title, we'll have to grab that, and the API version can stay the same. So now let's go ahead and see if we are getting the error. No, we are not getting the error anymore, but our blog section is empty, as you see. So for it to look like this, I'm going to add 3 blog items. Let's go to admin/admin. It will take us to Sanity Studio. It's taking a few seconds to compile, as you can see. So before we can access the Sanity Studio, we'll have to add this URL to our Sanity project. So let's click on this, continue. It's taking us to our Sanity project dashboard. Click on this button, it will be added, and yeah, we are redirected to our dashboard. Now you will have to log in. I'm going to log in with GitHub, and we are in our Sanity Studio. So from here you can add post and add author. So first of all we'll add a author. Click on this. We'll also have to upload a image. So I'm just going to search a random image, John Doe image. Let's pick this one and copy image, and we can just paste it here. and now we'll get the image here. We can select it from, and after that let's add a simple bio and hit publish button. We got the author. Now we are going to add 3 posts. Click on this create post button. So now you can see all of our 3 posts here. Now let's go to localhost 3000 and we'll see the blog section. It should render all of our blogs. Yes, as you can see here, it looks great. So when you click on this, we'll see the single blog. So the Sanity integration is successfully completed. Now we are going to move on to our next integration, which is Stripe integration. Because before the blog section, we got a pricing section, which is not showing anything because we didn't add the Stripe API key. So let's do that. Let's go to docs and go to Stripe integration at the very bottom. So first of all, we have to get the Stripe secret key. Before we do that, we have to log into Stripe. Now let's go to Stripe. So I've already logged in and created the projects earlier. That's why it took me to the dashboard. If you haven't logged in, you'll go to the home page. Go ahead and log in. Then go to the developers tab. You'll see the API keys tab here, and from the API keys we need the secret key, which you can't share with anyone. So I'm going to pause the video and add it to our config file. Now let's open up the code editor and go to env file. Here you can see the Stripe secret key. Paste the secret key here. So I'm going to paste it here. Now let's go to the browser and see if we got the project. Let's refresh. Here you can see we got the products already loaded because I've already created 3 products. If I go to the products tab, you'll see all these 3 products. You won't see any products if you haven't created anything yet. So to add the products, you can click on this add product button and follow these from here. So I'm going to close this. I'll just keep this as is. If you click on these buttons, you'll see the Stripe checkout page. Here all the details. So our Stripe and Sanity integration is done. Now we are going to integrate NextAuth for our authentication. So let's go to the docs and see what we have to do. To integrate the authentication, first of all we have to set up NextAuth. So we have to add the NextAuth secret and NextAuth URL. Let's open up the code editor and go to the env file and add this. For the secret, we can go to this URL. It will give us a random secret number. Put that into the secret. After that, we need the NextAuth URL. For the local environment, we are going to add the localhost 3000. But if you deploy it on Vercel, you don't have to add the NextAuth URL. So I'm going to paste it here. We are done with NextAuth setup. Now we have to integrate the database. After that, we can integrate the Google and GitHub login. Let's scroll down and go to the database integration. Here. For the database integration, we have to go to PlanetScale and we have to create a database first. Then we have to follow this documentation. Let's go to PlanetScale. I've already logged into PlanetScale and I don't have any other databases, so it's empty. Now we have to create a database. To create a database, click on this create button and then give it a name. Let's call it startup DB and the location is the default one. Then click on this create database. It's already created. Now we have to get the keys. We can click on this connect button. So it's initializing. After it's completed, we will get that button. So the initialization is done. Now click on this connect to your database button. We have to create the password. Click on this create password button. Now you got the secret key here. Make sure to select Prisma from here, otherwise you will get different URLs like this. So Prisma, copy it from here and add that to the env file. Let's open up the code editor and database URL. Now let's go to the docs and see what's the next step. Now we have to migrate the schema. We have to run this command. Let's go to the terminal and open up a new tab and paste the command here. It will take a few seconds. So the migration is done. Now let's move on to the next one. Now we have to run npx prisma generate. We have to close our server first before we run this command. So I'm going to close this tab and paste the command and hit enter. So it's done. Now you can see the user in the database if you want. Let's go to the database and the console and run these commands through tables. We got account and user. So the database integration is done. Now we can move on to add the Google and GitHub authentication. Now let's click on this Google login button and see what we have to do. For the Google authentication, first of all we have to create a project in Google console. Then we have to get the client secret and client ID. So let's go to the console, click on this button, then click on new project button and follow the instruction to create the project. I'm going to use one of the existing projects here because I've already reached the limit to create a new project. So I'm going to select this one, startup, then create credentials, then OAuth client ID. We have to add the application type here. It's a web application, so web application. Then we have to add the authorized redirect URL. It's localhost 3000 for our local environment, but make sure to update it when you deploy your site. So I'm going to copy the URL from here, localhost 3000, and paste it. Then click on this create button. So here we got the client ID and the client secret. I'm going to copy one by one. First the client ID and add that to the env file to Google client ID and paste it here. After that we are going to copy the client secret and paste that to Google client secret. Close this one, and now let's go to the terminal and restart the server. npm run dev and refresh the browser. Now go to the sign in page or sign up page and then click on this sign in with Google button. Now it should work. So we are getting redirected to authenticate. Now we can click on one of these and will be authenticated. Let's click on this. You can see the data in the applications tab in the cookies. As you can see here, we got the NextAuth token. Close this one. Now we are going to integrate GitHub. So let's go to the docs and scroll down to GitHub login. Here for the GitHub login, we have to create a GitHub OAuth account. Click on this button to go to the settings/apps page. Then click on the OAuth button. Now click on this new OAuth app button. Let's add the application name, startup tutorial. Home page is localhost 3000. Authorize callback URL, which is localhost API/auth/callback/GitHub. But when you deploy this, make sure to change this to your website URL, otherwise you'll get errors. Click on this register application button, and now we got client ID and client secret, which we have to generate. Let's click on generate a new client secret. We have to give the password. Now let's copy the client ID and add that to the env file. Now we have to update the application because we just generated the client secret. So now let's go to the terminal and restart the project. Now let's go to the sign in page and click on the sign in with GitHub button. It should redirect us to authorize with GitHub. Now click on this authorize button. It will authorize you and give you a session token. It will also redirect you to the website because we just added the redirect URL to localhost 3000. Yes, the authentication is done. Now you can sign up with Google, GitHub, or plain old email and password. So we have finished all of our integrations. One last thing we have got left is content layer for the docs. We don't have to do any integration for this. All we have to do is add markdown files and the content will be generated here. So let's go to the code editor, open up the markdown folder, go to the markdown folder, then the docs folder. We've already got a few files here for the examples. Now I'm going to add one more, example.mdx, and I'm going to copy the format from here, the title, description and the date, and paste it here, example, and let's change it. Change this text with lorem ipsum text paragraph. Now let's go to the browser. Okay, we have to change the title because that's what we will see. Let's call it example. As you can see, the file we've just added, it's here, the example. All the integrations are done. Now I'm going to show you how you can generate the build folder. So this is it. This is how you can install and configure the Next.js starter template. Hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.